Well, good morning, folks. Let's just hope that today the tech does not fail me as it did last week. So, if you are here in the chat, could you do me the favor of confirming that you can hear and see and all of the things? This is the first stream that I'm doing with these new spectacles, these new glasses. I'm not sure how I feel about them yet. The other ones, though, had to go. They were in bad shape. Margaret confirms, hello, Margaret, by the way, that can see and hear, which is amazing. I do also want to apologize for the folks who tried to bear with me last week while the internet was doing its thing. Fingers crossed that things will be a little more stable. Hard to say, hard to say. Checking the chat, and I see our friend Game Guy was first into the chat. Way to be motivated. And Josh mentioning that I won't say complaining or stating that there was no notification. Google, YouTube, and I apparently need to have a chat about that. I don't know what to tell you. Then there is Sabina. What's going on? Jen and Zach. Oh, wait. I just got the notification on my phone that I'm live. Thank you, YouTube. Apparently, it heard me. Sonia, I feel like last week you were talking about having applied to a Mediavine, and I wondered if you had heard anything yet, because there's always the question of whether or not your site will be accepted. And so please tell us, how are things? In the chat, I also see that our friend Game Guy thinks his new background for his videos may be terrible. His last video lost subscribers. Friend, I'm here to tell you that that happens to me all the time. And not that I'm better at YouTube than anybody, but for some reason, posting videos causes me to lose subscribers. I don't know why, but yeah, people actually what happens is they get served a video on browse, like a way better video, maybe my best video, and then they watch it and they're like, oh, that'd be a great idea to follow that person, and then they get served the new content and they're like, nope. Nope, and then unsubscribe. That's all right, they can go. I see Nataraj, good morning. And I also see Mersic. What is going on, friends? So on my list of stuff to do is potentially talk about the stuff I had planned to talk about last week, to answer and talk about any topics that are in the chat. Some things that I had wanted to talk about last week were, I'll split back to my notes here, the impact of the recession, because right before I went live, and maybe that's why things went sideways, is I had watched Matt Diggity's video, recession planning, which totally not a sunny video, to talk, like, to think ahead to a recession, but worth thinking about. And then I had planned to talk about the folks in the Icarus accountability group, just to say, hey, check in, see how things are going with folks. What else is on here on my list? To again highlight that Ezoic is doing Content Month, and they have a sweepstakes or a contest for people to win. What are they giving away? They're giving away content packages. That's what it is. The link is in the description below. It's not an affiliate link, so I get nothing. I just want to tell you that you can enter and check that out. Ooh, so I try really hard to consume some sort of content before the stream so that my mind is in the world of websites and SEO, because if I don't do that, then my mind is in the world of washing dishes and doing the laundry and putting band-aids on scrapes and things. So I have to like shift my brain. So last week I watched or listened to Matt Diggity's video about the recession, and then this morning I consumed Kyle Roof's recent interview on the Niche Website Builders podcast, which I do think is a worthwhile interview to listen to, even though if you have heard a lot of other Kyle Roof's interviews, they did cover a lot of the same stories, like the Lorem Ipsum story was in there. I also like to hear Kyle Roof talk about quality content, just because it's a great reminder of his position on what Google thinks about how good our content is versus not. Because I don't necessarily always think that my content is the best. It's just a reminder that content doesn't have to be good. Like, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece of written amazingness. A lot of times it's just got to you have to have your on page down to make it work. And he talks a bit about EAT, and I like his position on it. And so I think it's worthwhile to check out, even though some of it I was kind of like not paying attention because I've heard the Lorem Ipsum story at least 10 times for the interviews that I have consumed over the last couple of years. Sonia checking in with us said she applied on the 1st of August, got an email on the 3rd saying that they're in the first phase of internal review and will be in touch soon. Anyone know what this means? How long does this take? It can take a couple of weeks. So don't be upset or worried that it's not like immediate. What they do is they actually take your site and the URL and they forward it to their advertisers, and their advertisers make the decision, would they want their ads on your website? And if the answer is no, then you get a no, and like there's no appeal process or anything. I have had a site accepted and I have also had a site rejected. So, and the only explanation that I was able to get from them when my site was rejected was exactly that. They said, we passed your website, we passed the URL of your website around to our advertisers and they weren't interested in advertising on your website. So that's probably what the process is happening right now. And so hopefully, fingers crossed that it will work out positively. And so for folks who were like, oh, what is there anything that I can particularly do to try and help my site go through this process? I think knowing that actual humans, maybe humans that are not website builders or even viewers, like they're not there just for the content, like they might be visiting the homepage and like actually looking at the content, like that can be a good reason to do a homepage refresh, or taking ads off the homepage before you apply to another ad network, just knowing that you want it to look its best. Not to say that it's not going to get approved or anything else. It's just a reminder that when you're applying to other ad networks, that you may have non SEOs and non ad network people looking at your site. There is Harold. What's going on? Zach says that for him, it took 8 days from that email to the next one. So still on track. Well, that's good to know. Let's see. There's Maeve. Sonia says she's getting anxious, and that is why you come here. This is a circle of friends. This is a safe space to admit to anxiety. Maeve says, "Can I ask the niche?" And I'm not going to share my failure. It was not food, and it was not lifestyle. It was tech. It was a tech site. And yeah, it's a long story. That's another story for another day. How did I respond to that? Well, I responded to that by just continuing to work on the site, and I left it on AdSense, and it got slaughtered by an update not very long after that, and I don't pay much attention to it now. And here comes Josh swinging in that he is still averaging $30 to $35 RPM on Ezoic Basic, which is amazing, and nearing to $500 on his website, which that's a great result on Ezoic Basic. Let's see, need the weekly circle meeting. Josh says it's more like Mediavine or AdSense with one.js loading ads. Sonia says, what did I do with the site that got rejected? I continued to work on it for a while, and it's in my garage now, my portfolio garage, where it's sites that I plan on working on in the future that I just have not gotten around to yet. Natarash says, Amiga site update, 200,000 page views. Well, friend, I will tell you that the May update took the momentum from this site and just knocked the legs right out from under it. I have updated on the site a couple of times over on my personal blog, which is creatively titled emiliagardner.blog. Oh my goodness. The upside, though, is that it didn't get slaughtered. The downside is that it has not really recovered. It sort of fell and bled until it found like a stabilization point, and it sort of floated around there. So it's gained a little bit in the last 30 days, I think, from the new content that has gone up on the site, but it's no longer like headed off like a rocket. So no, have not reached 200,000 sessions, page views. I'm not sweating it necessarily right now. I feel like this is a great time to drink coffee and to be grateful for the fact that the site is still alive. I saw that Jasper posted what yesterday or the day before that his site that got slaughtered in May and recovered what in June or early July got hammered again and has fallen again. So I'm going to use this time to feel grateful. I'm going to feel grateful for the fact that the site is still, it still earned, let's see, what did it earn in July? It still earned $3,000 in the month of July. And I don't think it will earn quite as much in August simply because ad rates are down and are sporadically good and like frequently bad. But it's still a valuable part of my portfolio, and I'm excited to keep working on it over time. Sonia says currently that the EPMV for her site is very low, like $4 to $5. So she's hoping that Mediavine that it will improve. Fingers crossed that that will happen. There is Leona. What is going on? Sabina says, I started only checking on Fridays. I just get too emotional about it. So when you say checking, I'm assuming that we are talking stats. We are talking traffic and income. And I will say that that transitions really well into one of my potential topics for today, which was doing less consumption of analytics and also even getting off of social media a bit. I think that I have been fairly stable, like with the mental burden in the last month or so. I had a tough time earlier in like early summer, late spring. I think I was just tired, to be honest. And then the update happened, and so I've definitely worked a little bit less this summer. But we talked a little bit last week, and then offline, I've been talking with folks about like the economy here in the United States and around the world, and that impact on ad rates and how important it is to find ways to I don't say hunker down, but find ways to endure, to be persistent, to be gritty, to be resilient. And for me, I think one of those things, and then probably for the next several months, is going to be doing a bit less social media. So I don't think I realize necessarily how much time I probably spend scrolling. Like I think of it as like relax time. I'll sit and look at Facebook for a while, and um, I pat myself on the back, because I don't watch TV. I like rarely turn on the television. I rarely just like cruise YouTube for random stuff, but I'm not necessarily it's not really pat on the back worthy if I'm spending that time looking at Facebook. It gets probably worse. TV you zone out, but with social media, you actually are made to feel bad. So I think I don't want to say checking out, but doing less time on social media will be key to surviving the recession. Thinking less about what other people are doing and focusing more on being happy with what I'm doing and focusing on my goals and my progress. I'm also going to do some self-help. I'm going to do some more mindset stuff. And I know how everybody on YouTube hates the transition that influencers go through where all of a sudden they stop talking about on-page SEO and they start talking about meditation and mindset. But I think there's a reason that they do this, ladies and gentlemen, because I think that's a critical part of succeeding in years 2, 3, 4, 5, like, and beyond. But I'm not good at meditating. But one thing I do have time to do is listen to audiobooks, especially when I'm doing things like washing dishes or I walk. I walk with the kids or I just walk by myself. And usually I listen to like SEO related podcasts or entrepreneurship podcasts and things. And this week I took like a sharp right turn and I listened to it's called Make Your Bed, and I forget the name of the author of it. It was a speech that was given at a college commencement, And then he ended up writing a book to go with it. So the speech is at the end. But it's by Admiral William H. McRaven, U.S. Navy retired, and he was a Navy SEAL. And so some of his stories were about being a SEAL and about being challenged. And the title of the book is "Make Your Bed," and I honestly have never really understood before listening to this why the making your bed and why they do the inspections and why it's so important to like have everything just so. And one of the things that he explained was that the reason that they train them, that they're taught and they learn to make their bed first thing in the morning, like the very first thing that they do before they do anything else is to make the bed perfectly, is to start off the day having succeeded at something, having completed something. You may not go through the rest of your day succeeding or accomplishing anything that you set out to do, but how starting your day by making your bed can actually influence that. So now you look back here, and that is my bed. And for this stream, I usually make it. But I'm not going to lie that my bed is rarely made, and it is never made right when I get up, usually because there are children in it. So I get up and they stay in it, and then they kick all the blankets everywhere, and there's no point. But I did actually experiment, and I feel a little silly saying that I did this, but I did actually experiment with getting up, getting out of bed, and immediately making the bed, knowing that the little monsters would go and mess it up. I actually got more done that day. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's kind of crazy, and I would say that I was more motivated, and I had the same amount of energy level, but for some reason, starting off the day by making my bed put me in a slightly different mindset. I'm not saying that'll work for you. I'm not saying that I could continue to do it tomorrow, but on the days where I did get up and make my bed first before getting on with the day, I got more done. Now, I didn't necessarily get it done here on my website stuff, but I did get done more of the things done around my house that I wanted to, and I was more productive overall. So, just saying, I thought it was interesting. So, to circle this all the way back around, this did have a point. Talking about the recession, talking about how we get into the chat and we're like, oh, stats this, or oh, analytics break that, and how people are taking steps to do what they need to do to protect their mental health and like make sure that they have some longevity in this business. And maybe the recession is a good time not only to invest in content or in starting a new website, but also to invest in personal growth and development. I think there's a lot of people who are on the cusp of taking their sites and their businesses to the next level. And I say, oh, like I don't understand what's going to get me to the next step. Like I'm just doing the same thing. And sometimes it's not more content. Sometimes it's not a course. Like sometimes it could be something as simple as working on yourself a little bit. I mean, for me, I need to get my butt in this chair more. So whatever I can do to make that happen is important, and it's not going to be like an advanced on-page course. It's going to be some of this like foofy mindset stuff, but that's where I'm at right now. I'm checking the chat, and for all the folks who sat by and listened to me rant and rave about making my bed, thank you. And for those of you who are still here, please smash, press, massage, caress. No, the like button. That would be great. Maeve, we want to congratulate Maeve on her Icarus site. Will earn 3,500 US dollars in August. Potentially, that deserves an orange kazoo. I one day, maybe never, get some real side effects. Maeve says to Sonia, thanks for all the tips I get from YouTubers. And in reality, it was earning very little on Ezoic. Huge jump came when she went to Mediavine. Well, then there's some fingers crossed for Sonia. There's Graham. What's going on? Thanks for jumping in. Graham, how are you? How is your site? How are you coping? How are you hanging on? Nataraj says, as per Google speed suggestions, I re-uploaded all my images with the WebP format. It was a 98 score. After 15 days, it fell back to 74. What do I do to increase my speed? There are going to be many suggestions for that. For me, I use a really simple theme, and I don't use very many images, and I use a CDN. And for the sites that I have on Ezoic, I use Leap. For the sites that are not on Ezoic, I do not use Leap, but I also don't put anything exciting on it. I just use SiteGround and then the SiteGround CDN. Uh, I don't think that there is a magic button. Lots of people use plugins like WP Rocket, et cetera, et cetera. I personally think that the obsession with getting the perfect green 90 something score on Core Web Vitals is not as important as people think it is, but that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Karar asks, any income reports? You can check to see what I have over on my creatively titled blog, emiliagardner.blog. I did post, and I'm actually just going to go over there right now because that's what was the last thing that I did post. I can also hear the glorious tones of the garbage truck coming by. So if you can hear that, you're welcome. Let's see, on August 4th, so a week ago, I posted month 19, the update over on the blog. And I guess since I am in charge of the stream and I'll put it in the chat there. So if you see it, there it went. There it goes. But yeah, so how did I do in month 19? Better than month 18, but still not as amazing as I would like. I think that summarized it up. Summarized it up. Let's see. Graham says, clean your room, man. I know. I got to get to that. Zach says, tried making my bed every day. Realized it was easier just to not take it apart in the first place. Then where will you sleep? How will you sleep? Josh says, I gave up on the bed and want to use my... Oh, man. Sonia says, great advice. I don't think that investing in content and courses is enough. Need to invest in your mental health. I think that there is a balance. You have to find it. But people who don't do any work on the mental health side or in the mindset side, I think that it's going to happen eventually, in my opinion. Sabina says, I think we all want a good life much more than we want success. Let's see. We want the sites to help us achieve the good life. I think that I think most of us are in this business because of that. We all have a why, and sometimes thinking about that why can help get you back to the computer. I think the more, I don't want to say successful, like there's an in-between place. There's like the desperation is perspiration place, which is usually the beginning. And then there's the success that we want to reach. And somewhere right around the middle is kind of cozy and not that uncomfortable. It's comfortable enough where you're paying the bills, maybe saving a little. Life is pretty decent, but you want to go to the next level, but maybe you're not uncomfortable enough to do the work that needs to go there. And that is where I am right now, which is good, but not good when my goal is to get to that next level of awesome. Harold says, my live is on at the same time as the Ezoic Content Week with Doug Cunnington, Miles Beckler, and Matt G, Swim University's Matt Giovannici. Did I get that right? Well, how dare Ezoic go ahead and send us head to head. I do not have any problems, Harold. If you go and check that out and you want to be live there, it's totally fine with me. I know it's uncategorized, Josh. I just realized when I shared that. I'm like, oh, how could I possibly have forgotten that? Josh says that he's still waiting on AC. And I got to tell you that being in Texas in the summer without air conditioning sounds awful. Sounds awful. Karar says, which theme do you use on which site? On the Mega site, I use GeneratePress. I also have used Astra, and I'm also using Popcorn. But mostly I use GeneratePress, the free version, not even the pro version, and it does me well enough. As for my personal blog, my Bluehost inspired blog. I don't even know what I picked. I just picked something random because I don't care how fast it is. I'm not trying to make money with it. I'm not trying to rank anything. I just post income reports over there for now because I felt like it. So that is not inspiring at all. What are some other news? Ooh, my Otis.global case study website is bouncing around like a ping pong ball, back and forth, up and down. I don't think that Google quite trusts it yet, and that was something I thought about when I was listening to Kyle Roof talk today in that Niche Website Builders podcast about the things that I probably should do to encourage Google to trust the site. I had hoped that all of the backlinks to the site would be enough, but it was a good reminder that on the site right now, I don't think I have done any of the bells and whistles. Like I haven't set up the about page, right? Or an email that people could use to reach the administrator or somebody associated with the site. I haven't created or linked back any social media accounts, and I don't post to them. And there's just a lot of things that I could do that I have not done yet. I mean, will it work? Will it do anything at all? I don't know, but it's just something to think about. Uh, I I have not really done that. I just took the domain and then put content on it, and then just expected it to work. Was also doing the 301 redirects, but as for right now, maybe because it's the niche, maybe Google needs more to trust the site. So we'll see. I'm going to work on that, I think, in coming weeks to see if that will help with the indexing situation and with getting traffic. Game Guy says, I'm definitely in cozy land. Yes, me too. And it's so hard to get motivated to put in the effort. Hopefully, our next cruise will inspire me. I think this is one of those places where having a support network and having a mastermind helps a lot because you have somebody to be accountable to who understands what it is that you are going through. The Icarus spreadsheet generally does that for me, although I've not been as motivated in the last month or so because summer is great. And I also know that coming in September, all of my kids will be in school for the first time. So I think, gosh, should I get a job? Like, will I be able to sit down and write content every day? Like, how is this going to be different? And I don't know. I'm going to find out. Sharat says, with all the recession talks, is it a good time to exit some sites or continue? That is a great question. And I think that will depend a lot on the purpose and your feelings about the recession. Some people are selling because they are afraid. They're afraid that the recession will happen and the properties will be killed, or that Google will update something and they will just be totally hammered. And other people are selling sites because they want to be cash flush. Some of them want the cash because they're scared, and some people want the cash because they want to use the cash if an opportunity comes up during the recession to acquire something or start something or invest in something that other people can't afford to do because they don't have cash, because they are staying the course, or maybe they have already used the cash for other things. So I think having a balance is probably good. I don't think, for me personally, now is the time to sell off everything, but to have cash, like ready cash, wouldn't necessarily be a bad time to unload some things. But for me, it would be with the goal of having cash to do something with, not necessarily because I was afraid that I would need to bury the cash in the backyard in a tin can. I don't know what other people think, though, folks. Do you think it's time to sell everything and hunker down, or is it time to start something new and invest? Or, I mean, how afraid are people? Are some of us just living in a hole and just hoping that if we put our head down, that we won't even notice it. I mean, I'm noticing it, checking the dailies for how earnings went, RPMs. I mean, I'm aware of it. It's hard to avoid. Sonia says, she's been working on content for the past 2 months now. I'm just so tired and can't write anything. That is a tough time. This is the time when you got to push through, though. You just got to find a way to keep going. And maybe the thing that you do isn't necessarily writing as much, right? Maybe it's not completing as much or the same thing. Maybe it's just finishing something small, like making the bed, and that will keep you on track. Sabina says that she's been trying to get up at 4 to work and it's just too extreme for me. Yeah, it's too extreme for me too. That's not a long-term solution at all. Zach says recession equals shopping season. Like it. Excited to see what competitors go up for sale. Maeve says that I think the last update scared people as good sites got hit and hit hard, and no one has really worked out why. That's true. There is quite a bit of that going on. People wanting to take their money off the table so that it's no longer at risk. Maeve says, I'm kind of not aware of the lower PMs because they were such a jump from Ezoic. I see people complaining about August being down, and I'm like, Well, maybe what this means is that you can look forward to the future being even brighter than it is right now, which would be awesome. Sabina says, I think it might be a benefit to me that I've never had a 4-figure month. If I keep making $200 a month for the next 6 months, I think I'll survive. But if earnings fall, I don't know that I'll be okay. So, Sabina, here's the thing. I think that you will be okay. The question is, what will you be doing? And maybe it's not the same thing. Maybe you will do more freelancing. Maybe you will do other VA work. Maybe you will do other something else online to make the dollars that you may have lost in the recession. I just don't see you throwing in the towel. It's okay to do something different. We all do it. It's just a question of whether or not you just say, I'm done. It's not going to work. It's not possible. I just don't see that. I don't see that. Sabina says, yeah, I have a final interview tomorrow for an online teaching position. Is that something that's going to work for you when new baby comes? Will you be able to do both? I mean, that's a great way to be able to serve your family and be at home and also continue to work and make money and work on your career and all that. I would like to know your guys' opinion on this. One of the things that Matt Diggity said last week is that he thought that the recession would cause the cost of content to fall. And I'm curious about that because part of me thinks, okay, maybe, right, if people were had less ready cash, right? If a lot of people were, tightening their belts and making the decision to write their own content because they didn't want to spend money, would that cause the cost of content to fall, or would the cost of content remain the same and there would just be fewer providers of it as people struggled, right? As these content agencies weren't able to necessarily pay the writers or hang on to the writers because of the lack of business. I would like to know what other folks think about that, because I can see it, like I understand the argument, but at the same time, at some point, like half a penny a word is not a living wage for anyone, anywhere. Sabina says, well, I think the online teaching position will allow her not to worry about money and still work on the sites. I think it'll be good. And she loves teaching math. I'm obsessed. It's hard for me to not be doing it. That is amazing. That is awesome. Really quick, has anyone else seen more impacts from the Google? We get the opinion, get the feeling, get the all indications show that Google is still testing things, lots of things, and wondering if anybody else is struggling with that. Other than Jasper, we saw his post the other day about that. Sonia says, as an economics grad, I would say the price of content will fall because the demand for content will fall as people start selling sites. That could be a good time to start a new site then. If content costs quite a bit less. All right, folks, I'm looking at the time. I know it's not quite the top of the hour, but I do want to get to work and also let you guys get to work. If you want to, and actually I probably will do this too, is head over to the, and Harold, if you're still here, to put the link to the discussion with Doug and Matt, because I would curious to go check that out, or maybe I'll just sneak over there and do that, uh, because I think it would be interesting to check out. And folks, thank you so much for popping in. It's going to be a work weekend for me, and I'm sure for you too. Sonia, we will keep our fingers crossed. Think good thoughts that you will get a positive response from Mediavine. In the meantime, keep up the good work, friends, folks, and we will see you next week.